Hello and welcome to the morning after show presented by betonline.ag. My name is Joshua Reimer. I'm joined by none other than Jared Block, who is on my right. Jared, I'm coming into this slow, extremely sleepy. So you kick it off. How was your Tuesday, man?
Tuesday was pretty solid. Pretty nice basketball slate. Just another one of those days where we're prepping for the Super Bowl. So not too much to say outside of just grinding throughout the week. Today marks the official 1 week until I'm out of here. So I am
Nice.
I'm not to rub it into anybody's face, but I've been counting down the days for a while now.
Hey, I don't blame you. I'd be counting down the days as well if I was in your shoes. I kind of am in your shoes because I do get a little bit of a break as soon as we get to the AllStar break. But it's not even, I mean, like, it's a little bit of a break. It's not a real break. We'll see how that goes. That's what, like 9 days away from me now. So still have a little bit, but I'm right behind you there. Yeah, last night really, really sucked in the NBA. I'll be honest. The fact that Suggs got hurt very early on in that Portland game basically ruined our night. And I feel like if Suggs had played with the amount of points that Cole Anthony was able to score and with how well he did, Jalen Suggs would have had a very similar night. And you would have seen Suggs probably carry us to winning in cash games. But it wasn't so because he got injured and only had point 0.5 points. So tough night. With the injury, but there's not much you can do about injury variance. It is what it is. We have to move on to the next slate.
Yeah, 7 minutes, not much you can do about that. Magic ended up winning too, which was the icing on the cake for that. So Um, interesting to see what happens with them. Blazers, I don't know. I picked Ben McLemore. You picked Anthony Simons. Worked out more for you than it did for me, but this team is just kind of all over the place right now.
Yeah, they certainly are all over the place. They're going to continue to be all over the place, at least until they get those guys like Josh Hart and Dame and whoever else they decide to trade for on the team. This Trailblazers team is definitely going to be kind of all over the place. All right, is there anything else you want to talk about? If not, let's get into the NBA recap.
No, let's go ahead. Let's do it. There's a lot of NBA news to talk about today.
Yeah, there's a ton of NBA news to talk about. I know we kind of covered it with our members behind the paywall, but there's some things that we haven't even got to cover behind the paywall. It's a ton of stuff. So let's kick it off. There was news yesterday that Beal done for the year after going a wrist surgery that ended his season. At the end of this season, he holds a $36 million option, but doesn't he have the availability to get the Supermax as well? Like he could get the big deal from the Wizards.
Yes, can get the Supermax $245 million over 5 years if they decide to go that way.
Do you pay him that as a Wizards team? I feel like I'm just a resounding no. Like I understand how special of a talent Beal is. I'm not sure it's enough where it's really going to carry me, and that's what I need from a player who's getting that much money.
Well, that's just the thing, right? That's where you draw the line in the sand because there aren't very many guys of his caliber in the league, but he's also on the back half of, or the other side of things where he's never really finished a season completely healthy. When's the last time that he actually did? Had to have been when John Wall was there. So,
Hmm.
I mean, it's been at least 3 seasons where he's ended, or he's had huge injuries throughout this season, and that's just unfortunate for him. But it's also, as a franchise, you have to take a stand and say, hey, like we're not gonna win without Beal probably, but at least our team has some sort of direction because right now they've been on this trajectory for like the last 3 or 4 years where they haven't really decided what they wanted to do. They decided to trade John Wall initially, and I mean, like, we haven't seen him play since. So
Hmm.
I guess maybe they made the right choice there, but they have been in this situation in whole for a while.
Yeah, they certainly have been in this situation for a while, and I mean, we know if they're not going to supermax him, then he's going to accept that $36 million deal. I guess my question would be, what happens after that? Maybe they reward him for his loyalty. I mean, there could have been plenty of times where he requested a trade and because he didn't, they're like, all right, we'll give you that super max. But I don't know. It seems far fetched to give a player like Bradley Beal a super max contract right like that, where he's literally getting paid like almost 50 million a year.
Right. And that's that's just it, right? Like, I mean, who the team's going to be rough if they don't have him next year, but they can, they will have a lot of money to play with if they decide to not go that route. So
No.
there's pros and cons to each side, and the Wizards are just like they started out hot, and then they are where they are right now, and they're probably just not going to make the playoffs at all. Maybe they'll make one final push, but with Beal, I highly doubt that. 2-8 in their last 10 games.
Hey, Kuzma carries to them to the promised land. You never know. It could happen, I
Maybe he
guess.
gets the deal then.
Yeah, maybe he gets a supermax. That would certainly be interesting. Let's talk about some blockbusters that we want to see. There's still guys around the NBA landscape right now that are potential trade options. Obviously, Lakers are talking about trading Westbrook a ton. We know that Simmons and Harden, that deal has been in talks for a while. Jeremy Grant, another guy who isn't necessarily the superstar level of the three guys I just mentioned, but still a
Yep.
very heavy trade piece that the Pistons have that they want to offload. And there's other trade pieces around the league. So, I give me your thoughts, Jared. What's a blockbuster deal that you want to see before Thursday?
Yeah, I'm seeing a few things. One of them not too popular at the moment, but the New York Knicks trading Emmanuel quickly and a first rounder for Jalen Brunson. There's talks about that
Wow.
because they don't really know what to do with Kristaps at this point, so they're trying to figure out what they want to do with that. I figured they would not trade Jalen Brunson, but it's been talked about that he's involved in some of these things. The Raptors, apparently the Indiana Pacers wouldn't be done here. So Indiana and Toronto. Toronto receives Miles Turner and Buddy Hield, while the Indiana Pacers receive Dragic, Chris Boucher, Kem Birch, Malachi Flynn, and some picks. That seems a little top heavy, but I guess
Yeah.
that's what Turner's going for these days. Um, what do you feel about this? I feel because in this trade for the Pacers Raptors, none of the starters are going in that deal.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like I don't feel like it happens with the Turner package and everything. Like it just doesn't make sense for me to trade away Turner at all, especially if you're not
Yep.
getting anything in a high value. Like I understand those are good pieces. Some of those pieces have a high upside, aka Chris Boucher. But outside of that, that group that you just mentioned from the Raptors just seems like a whole bunch of like a jumbled mess. Unless there's like a first round pick and a good first round pick in there, it
Yeah,
just
that's
wouldn't
a
make much sense to me.
So, well, the proposed trade was 2022 and 2024 first rounders.
Okay, so I mean that's two first rounders, and that I guess kind of makes sense. But still, I feel like as Indiana, you have pulled off this rebuild.
Yep,
How far
I
away are you
agree.
from like being a top five seed with Rick Carlisle as your head coach right now? A very good head coach. How far away are you from being a top five seed in the East? I don't think
Mm,
you're that far.
You need Brogdon to stay healthy, and you
Yes.
also need to prioritize. Like Goga Batadze should not be your starting center, and I know that he is right now because of the injuries. But you give Turner 35 minutes and starter role, and I think that the rest can. I mean, like, yeah, I mean, we. I think this is an opportunity to see Tyrese Halliburton unleashed if they go that route, which I hope they do,
Yeah.
and we'll see. But the I think that they're still going to be ravaged by some injuries, and we'll see if TJ Warren comes back. But they're getting there. I would say if they had this team, they're probably like fully healthy. It's probably a 6 seed.
Yeah, and I'm not even saying this year necessarily. I'm more because like this year feels like it's kind of a wash for
Well,
the
they're done
Pacers.
this year, but yeah,
Yeah, exactly. And we don't know when Turner's coming back. It seems like Brogdon's just never going to come back, even though they keep listing him as questionable. Um, it just feels like next year, like this team, they're not going to have TJ Warren. I mean, maybe they sign him on like a prove it deal because he's been so injured that no one else is able to sign him. But you talk about getting another piece to replace TJ. You probably your cap space probably doesn't look that bad. Chris Duarte looked really good last night. Um, I just don't think this team is as far away as people think they are from being not a competitor necessarily, but even making the playoffs. I feel like is a win when you're the Pacers, just considering the market that they're in right now.
yeah. Agreed. This one's a little bit more far-fetched, but it does make sense monetarily. So it would be a blockbuster, excuse me, between the New York Knicks and the LA Lakers. The New York Knicks would receive Westbrook, DeAndre Jordan, Wayne Ellington, and several protected first-round picks. And then the Lakers would receive Kemba Walker, Evan Fournier, and Alec Burks to get off of the money that they spent on the players.
That sounds awful. I want to throw up in my mouth when I hear that
Yeah,
deal.
see, here's the thing with this is New York's got a tough thing going because they owe Julius Randle like $25 million, and
Hmm.
then the roster's pretty balanced. You paid Kemba Walker and Evan Fournier last season, or this season, and you can move enough money around to fit in Westbrook's contract or another superstar if they became available next year, but you're gonna have to give away a few guys to open things up. And I think this would be a better thing for the Knicks than it would be for the Lakers because the Knicks right now are just so condensed in the forward and guard area that they're just condensed everywhere. It's just a mess everywhere.
Yeah.
And they are underperforming compared to last season. And Randall, while fantastic, is being the chunk guy that takes all the money. I don't know. I just want to see RJ Barrett be the all around player that we know he can be. And right now, I feel like he's
Yeah.
getting 30 plus 35 minutes a game, but like he's just not. There's just too many guys in the way for him to do things.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. I'd like to see more from RJ as well. I feel like the Knicks are, instead of that blockbuster deal that you just talked about, I feel like the Knicks are better suited with being the third team in some type of trade with the Lakers, where
Sure.
Lakers end up sending Westbrook to the Knicks, Knicks end up sending not that group of players. Like I think you have to have a high value player somewhere in there, just because of the later first round picks that the Lakers are giving up. They're valuable because LeBron should be gone by then. So like
Yep. Yep.
that's why those 20. That's why you hear so much talk around this 2027 first round pick from the Lakers. It's because by then LeBron's gone, and who knows what this Lakers team future is at that point. Um, if you're
Is he really
trading
signed through then?
No, he's not signed anywhere close to then. I think
Okay.
we expect him to leave way earlier than that.
Yeah.
But I just saying like that's the like by then he'll definitely be out.
Sure.
Unless we get Bronny on the team, which I don't know how we do it, but I know he really wants to play with Bronny. He was talking about that again earlier last week. Regardless, my
Mhm.
point is Nick send it to some mystery third team. That mystery third team sends us a superstar. Um, I don't know. I don't know what that type of deal looks like, but I feel like in my head that's the most ideal scenario because the Knicks get their guy and whoever is that third team gets a group of guys that they can rebuild on, and then the Lakers get their guy, a superstar to add to the mix. So it'll be interesting. It's going to be a really interesting trade deadline to see if the Lakers can pull off that type of move because I think that might be the type of move that needs to get pulled off to save their season.
I agree. I agree.
Yep.
Let's see here. We have two more. Obviously, one of them is James Harden, but we'll cover this one first. The Chicago Bulls received Jeremy Grant, while the Pistons received Patrick Williams, Derek Jones Jr. So kind of a small thing, but
What?
Jeremy Grant does push the bubble a little bit for this Bulls team.
I guess that seems like such a small return for the Pistons. Like, why is
I would,
it?
yeah.
Jeremy
No,
Grant feels like
you're
he's
right.
worth a lot more than just not even a
I
pick in
mean,
there or something.
no, not what I see right now. But uh, yeah, I mean, both of these players, Williams and Derek Jones, have been injury prone the entire season, as well as previous seasons for Derek Jones. Williams still 20 years old. I mean, there was some promise in that early in the year, as well as some of last year. So I don't know. I do think Jeremy Grant's a little bit underrated though in this deal.
Yeah, I would agree. I think I think that Pistons team can just get a lot for Jeremy Grant just because he's valued around the league. Like I think it's more than just the Bulls that want him, right? We've seen the Blazers talking about wanting him. We've seen other teams talking about wanting him. He seems like he's going to be a popular guy during the trade deadline. So just
Yep.
that leverage alone makes him more valuable than what that trade has. Is that an ESPN
Yeah.
trade?
Yeah. They're also saying
Lakers.
Williams makes sense for a spot if the lottery goes the right way, that if the Pistons get Jabari Smith or Paulo Banchero, that it really makes the team mesh a little bit more with Williams in there.
I guess that makes sense. Yeah, that's a solid take. I don't know. Still doesn't feel like enough. Feels like there needs to be a pick added on, or maybe someone other than Derek Jones. Maybe you include. They wouldn't include Kobe White, but I mean, like that'd be a home run if you're the Pistons, is to get Patrick Williams and Kobe White. You would feel really good about that.
I agree. I agree. I don't think Derek Jones is a long term piece for Detroit anyway.
No,
Um, and then obviously the one that's been this one actually feels like it could happen. Maybe not this year, but maybe in the offseason. But Brooklyn receives Ben Simmons, Seth Curry, 2022 first round pick, and then the Sixers get James Harden. So that one's been notable on Twitter and social media everywhere for the last couple of days. I don't think James Harden gets traded in the next day and a half.
it's gonna be a real shame to see him leave then, because I mean he does have that option to opt out after the year is over. So like we keep talking about like, oh, this trade will happen. Yeah, it could happen with a sign-in trade, maybe, but at the end of the game, James Harden controls his own destiny. So like it doesn't matter. He could go somewhere else. I don't know. That's what Philly said yesterday, is that they're really hoping that the Nets open their eyes and see that this scenario where they get Simmons and Seth is much better than just having James Harden walk for free in free agency. And I would tend to agree.
Oh yeah.
You need to make the deal happen, man. You need to learn from past mistakes of your free agents leaving. And then I don't even have any specific examples for the Nets, but you need to learn from the past mistakes of other teams where they just let players leave in free agency, don't get anything back. And I mean, if you let James Harden leave in free agency and you don't get anything back, yes, you have KD and Kyrie. You have the cap space to open up to maybe go sign a third superstar, whoever that would be this year. But it's not going to be the same. It won't be a player as good as James Harden. I mean, it's James Harden, top five player in the league, top 10 player in the league, not top five, top 10 player in the league, I think. So like you're not going to find another guy like that, in my opinion.
No.
It would really suck to lose him to free agency. That's what it is.
Yeah, no, you're right. It would be stupid of them to have him walk away like that. Rye guy, thank you for the sub, dude.
Yes, thank you.
And let's I mean, yeah, we can probably move on from this, but I personally don't think James Harden gets traded in the next day and a half.
I would
And we'll
agree.
see. But I am just loving the Nets collapse. I've said that a couple times, but
Yeah, yeah.
I love it. I love it so much.
Yeah, it's great to see. It's definitely something that I know you and I both enjoy, because we both pretty much hate this team for different reasons.
They're the number 8 seed in the league, and they've lost 9 in a row. And they
Oh my
got
goodness.
embarrassed last night.
Oh, yeah, we'll talk about it, dude. That was an I was watching that game for a little bit. That was absolute, almost like I called it on the podcast. That was an
Yeah,
absolutely embarrassing game. Let's talk about what Embiid talked about. He stated that the Sixers want to win with or without Ben Simmons. So, this just brings up the point of going back to that trade that you were just talking about. It seems like the 76ers definitely aren't going to push things if they don't need to. They're not going to force a Ben Simmons trade. And if you don't see the Nets accept this trade, I think you see them hold on to Simmons until the offseason.
sure. Why not? They have I mean Morey's been very, very patient with Ben Simmons. So I don't see why he's just looking for the right deal. He's a smart man, so I think that they'll figure it out regardless. But I just feel like Joel Embiid. Why does he have to say that they want to win with or without him? Like they know that they want, they know that they
Yeah.
want to win, and they've done a pretty good job of maintaining that too. Especially given all the injuries that they went through. Man, they lost like half the roster for a month, but here they are sitting at the 5 seed still, and they're only one game out of fourth place and a couple of games out of second.
Yeah, they're really close, and this team without Ben Simmons looks like a contender for the East. So imagine what they look like with James Harden instead. Like this team
Right.
looks so scary on paper and scary on the floor as well, because they have the capabilities to put a good defense around Harden, which we just haven't seen in James Harden's career. He has never had a good defense put around him. If he has that good defense put around him, he can really thrive. and excel in his spot. And it would just be really scary to see the duo of Harden and Embiid.
Yeah, and if they're able to keep Tobias in that mix too, it's a great deal.
Yeah.
What do you think it does for Tyrese Maxey at that point?
I think that he kind of takes that role that Kyrie has right now, where he's technically the bring it up point guard, but James Harden's still the guy who's controlling the ball when they're in their half court sets. Um, but I think he's still a starter, and I think he fills in that Kyrie Irving role really nicely, honestly. So that's my 2 cents on how he would contribute for that team.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I was just wondering how that would work because I feel like he'd take a back seat.
Or maybe they move into the bench because we've talked about it plenty. Their bench is awful. The 76ers bench is like one of the worst benches in the league. So maybe they move into the bench and they feel more comfortable with that.
Yeah, that would make sense to me.
Yeah. All right. Anything? Well, not anything else for the NBA. We have plenty else to talk about, including that Nets and Celtics game that you were just talking about. Celtics end up winning 126-91, but there was a point in the first quarter where the Celtics were up 28-2. Yes, that's not me misspeaking. That is 100% right. 28 points to 2 points at one point. And after that, it was kind of just the Celtics steamrolled. The Celtics just kind of went on, on cruise control and just kind of ran through them for the rest of the game. So, I mean, this Nets team, I talked about it on the podcast. I had a very strong feeling they were going to get absolutely demolished. They end up losing by 35 points. It just shows, I don't want to talk about the Nets too much, and I don't want us to victory lap the Nets losing too much. But, I mean, this is a great thing to see for the NBA, in my opinion, right?
I think so. I
Yeah.
mean, anytime that there's a team that goes all out to do this, sometimes, yes, it's worked in the past, but it's all about how those pieces mix together, and what you did to the rest of your roster just doesn't work. And you obviously, I think the injury to Joe Harris has been something that nobody talks about and how
Yeah.
important that was. So you're not going to win with the roster that they ran out last night, obviously, and nobody expected them to win necessarily, but the way that thing went about with all three superstars sitting just kind of explains what happens when the super team experiment does not go right.
Yeah. It's a disaster, and that's certainly what it was in Brooklyn last night. Let's talk about some other games. Let's talk about this Grizzlies game. The Grizzlies and Clippers ended up facing off against each other. Grizzlies got a big win, ended up winning by 26 points. But Ja Morant took a really nasty hit from Marcus Morris that, I don't know, made me scratch my head and think that shouldn't be. There should be something against that. That should not be allowed. And I mean, it was a pretty scary moment when you saw that hit because it looked like Morant could really get injured from it. Luckily, he didn't. Luckily, he's okay. But I mean, it's a classic case of the Morris brothers being the Morris brothers, I guess.
It certainly is. And yeah, it's we always get kind of scared of these John Morant drive type hits that he takes, and he's not going to be able to do it forever. But that one looked, because he had a similar injury that sidelined him. Well, there's been a couple times where we've been really freaked out about him getting hurt like that. But yeah, no, that was obviously should have gotten called, and it's just another dirty play from the Morris brothers.
That's so sad that we can say that. Just another dirty play from the Morris brothers. But you're 100% right. It was scary. But Grizzlies still ended up walking out. Seems like Jaw's going to be fine. So nothing to fret about too much. But a really scary hit on him. Let's talk about. Oh man, I can't believe you put this in. Oh, I forgot. You're King Jared today. My bad. I'm not gonna pull a Sean and not live up to it. King Jared's Bucks ended up winning last night, including Bobby Portis being a really terrible person and hitting the gritty on us in the middle of the game. That just made me furious, man. I don't know. That made me very mad. But anyway, Bucks get a huge win for you, Jared. It got a little bit closer at the end, but really there was at no point where the Bucks didn't have control of this game against the Lakers.
Yeah, it started off pretty hot, and then like we were right about the game environment, and we were right
Yeah.
about Giannis, but we just didn't see the rest of the stars play in the second half for the Lakers as much. So LeBron, for what it's worth, played pretty well when he was in, and
Mm-hmm.
then they just got beat. I don't know what to say more
Well,
than
dude,
that.
it's
Like
crazy how well y'all shot because
Giannis just took out. Yeah, he went what 17 for 20 in the game or something like that.
it was just silly, man. Like, but the whole team too. Like, it just you guys could not miss. It was incredible to watch that shooting performance. I think you guys had a 70% field goal rate in the first half. So like, I don't know. There's not much you can. And like, I don't even think it was necessarily awful defense. I know there was definitely some defense mishaps throughout the game, but like at the end of the day, I think you guys were just hot coming into the stadium, and there's not much you can do about that. So you chalk it up as a loss and you move on. Let's talk about Russ getting benched because he complained again about getting benched for the end of the fourth quarter. Says that he felt like he deserved to be out there playing with AD and LeBron. He got off the bench to comfort AD and LeBron after the game, but I mean, like, this is only getting worse and worse, right? As we continue to see Russ get benched, Russ complain about getting benched, and going back and forth and back and forth. Like, it just points to that trade, some type of trade for Westbrook, making more and more sense as the days go on.
Sure, it just feels like the priorities for Vogel isn't there. And I don't know if it's just Vogel, if it's or if there's talks after games, before games, who knows? But he definitely, like, I don't really know what more to say about Westbrook than that. Like, he's had a bad year, and just I don't know. But LeBron's comment was certainly interesting after the fact too. He said, "We're not on the Bucks level, and we probably won't reach it this season."
Oh, my soul, man. My soul
Like that's
hurts.
a,
Oh,
I mean, at least he's telling the truth, but man, that's kind of weird when he's like,
when he's down
only
in
he
the
can really
dumps
do that.
about it,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
that's a different level of down in the dumps for the Lakers. So, I don't know. We'll see. Maybe I don't even want to speculate. It's just going to be a really rough run for this Lakers team. I feel like I almost hope they don't make it to the playoffs, so we don't get embarrassed by a 1 seed or a 2 seed at the end of the day. Um, but let's talk about the All Star game because we have All Star game competitions coming up next week. We have a finalized list of who's going to be in the 3 point contest. We have a finalized list of the skills competition. I think. I mean, I know the Giannis brothers are pairing
Yep.
up. It's now a team thing, which is very interesting. But let's talk about everyone that's going to be in these contests.
Yeah, so we obviously know the dunk contest who broke that last week. It's Obi Toppin, Jalen Green, Cole Anthony, Juan Toscano Anderson. That's on, like, all these events are on Saturday night. The 3 point contest, Fred Van Vliet, Desmond Bain, Luke Kennard, Zach Levine, CJ McCollum, Patty Mills, Carl Anthony Towns, and Trey Young. So a few names on the list we haven't seen before. So I like to see Patty Mills, Desmond Bain in there. Luke Kennard, I think, may have been in it before. Cat as well. I saw something about Bobby Portis being announced that he was in, then they took it away from him for some reason. So I don't know if
Oh,
you saw that
sad.
last night, but I think they announced it during the Lakers game or something, and then it didn't happen.
You know what? I'm
Or
happy
maybe
because he doesn't deserve it after hitting the gritty on us like 6 different times. He doesn't deserve it.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, anything stand out to you here? I don't think anybody's not disqualified.
Yeah, I don't think anyone doesn't deserve it. I will say it's nice to see Luke Kennard earning his 64 million finally in some aspect for the Clippers, even if it
Ugh.
is outside of playing on the floor with the Clippers and instead, I don't know, promoting the brand or something. That's all I had though. I mean, that seems like a pretty good list right there. Um, I'm kind of surprised you didn't. Was there no? I might have lapsed because I was reading comments and looking at other stuff, but no Curry, right? No Curry, no
Nope.
Clay, no any. Yeah,
Yep.
so
No Currys. Neither of them.
yeah, I wonder if it's at the point where like is the 3 point contest kind of similar to the home run contest, to where you really throw off your 3 point shot by doing this competition.
Sure. I guess. I mean, they also might just want to see some other people in it too.
Yeah,
Not to have
that's
the
true.
Currys win every single year.
That's true. That's a good
Um,
point.
but yeah, no, you're right, and I think that people they probably got asked to have them in, and they might have declined. So
Yeah.
Curry didn't have a good year last year, or I mean neither of them really did. but that's why you saw kind of them do that in previous years, and now they're both winning. So
No.
it makes sense to why they wouldn't. I mean, I think the home run derby is more comparative to the dunk contest in a way, where you don't want to hurt yourself going through that. So
Mhm.
I think the home run derby is just the whole thing by itself because there's so much torque on your body and a spot where like baseball is just different with that. But
Yeah.
let's talk about the skills challenge. There's 3 teams here. It's Team Antetokounmpo with Giannis Thanasis Alex. Team Cavs, Jarrett Allen, Darius Garland, Evan Mobley.
Ooh.
Team Rooks, Scotty Barnes, Cade Cunningham, Josh Giddey. Could see Cade Cunningham actually opt out of this for what it's worth, because I don't think he is going to be 100% for this. Maybe I'm wrong, but um, the Team Cavs thing is pretty cool to see. I know that the game's in Cleveland, right? So
Yes.
it makes sense to have it there. But it's cool that they're forming this nucleus around this All-Star season, as well as landing a couple huge trades in the process beforehand.
Yeah, you kind of almost wish you saw Karis LeVert in that group. I mean, I know he's not like an original Cav, where all those guys kind of are original, meaning they started out the season with the Cavs, but just kind of to get that chemistry with Karis would make sense to me. So I don't know, but still a solid grouping. It's really cool. I'm excited to see those 3 together. I'm excited to see the rookies together too. I mean, I'm a Giddy fan, so seeing Giddy on the floor at any point is awesome. And the Antetokounmpo brothers little bit is awesome. I wish we got to see the Jokic brothers compete in this one as well. That's the
Jokic
first.
Brothers versus Morris Brothers.
Yeah, that would be a good time, man. Like, why don't we need to see that? That's the skills competition that I want to see. Um,
What about a 3v3?
oh like the yes, 100%. I could definitely get down with this. It'd be a lot of dirty basketball, I think, though. Um, yeah, skills competition should be fun. Let's talk about this last game event for the All Star game. This new greatest shots, which I haven't heard of, but I'm curious to hear what is this greatest shots event all about.
Yeah, I was seeing this and I'm still trying to find it, but I saw this last week where they are rolling out a new All-Star event where they like it's similar to the skills challenge, but it's just like a game. It's kind of like a game of horse as well, where like they picked some of the best shots because it's the 75th anniversary of the NBA. They picked some of the best shots in the finals or playoffs or just memorable shots. Like the Irving hook shot, like some of the like Dame Lillard's game winner against OKC, Ray Allen's 3-point shot from the corner. There's a couple more, but it's like apparently it's competition where there's 2 players on each team and they're timed, and it's a competition to make those shots in the same kind of fashion, and the same player cannot hit 2 shots in a row, so you have to go back and forth on it. I want to see what it's actually called, and if the chat can help us out on that or link us or something, that would be great, because I've been trying to find the name for it and I still can't find it. So it has something to do with the greatest shots in the last 75 years, and they are supposedly doing it for the All-Star game.
Should be interesting. Should be fun to watch. I don't know. Should be a good time. All right. Anything else in the NBA for you, Jared? If not, let's talk about some NFL Super Bowl coverage.
Oh, let's keep going on here.
Let's do it. Let's talk about Kyler Murray to kick off this NFL Super Bowl coverage, which feels weird because it's not about the Super Bowl at all. But we did it here, or we did find out that Kyler Murray removed all things about the Cardinals from his Instagram page. He's not following them anymore. He's in no way is his Instagram page associated with the Arizona Cardinals. So some eyebrows got raised. Some thoughts were like, what the heck is going on? He's heading into the last year of his rookie contract now. They have until May 2nd to pick up that option to extend him a year. Like, does this feel like a power move? Does this feel like a spot where Kyler Murray might want to leave town? Is Kyler Murray going to become a baseball star? What's going to happen here, Jared?
I heard some things about the baseball stuff too. I heard stuff about him going to the Packers, going to the Bucks. Like it's
Oh,
all over the
jeez.
place right now.
My
So I
lord.
think, at the end of the day, all it could just be a rebrand. That's all it really
Yeah.
could be. But no, I mean, it's not coincidental that he removed things like I don't know. It was a rough year for the Cardinals. It's not how they wanted to go out after starting like 11-3 and being the number one seed in the NFC. They were leading the NFC for the majority of this season. So maybe he sees the ceiling. I think it's unfair because they were missing Chandler Jones for a long time. They missed J.J. Watt. DeAndre Hopkins sat half the season. So I think it was a little unfair to just write this thing off, but maybe, I don't know. I think the best situation for him is Cliff Kingsbury and this Cardinals team. So who knows? I think that he'll be a Cardinal, but he's probably going to get a bigger deal. I would be surprised if they gave him the last year of the rookie money.
Yeah, I mean, he's gonna get some big money. We all know that. He's one of the more talented young QBs in the league. I know we all talk about the Herberts and the Allens and the Burrows, but I mean, Murray's one guy that gets left out. That's in that same age range that deserves to be in the conversation.
Yep.
I don't know. I'm sure he's gonna get big money wherever he goes. I know you said that Cliff Kingsbury is probably the best thing for him, but doesn't Matt LaFleur feel like the second best thing for him potentially?
That's why I rostered him in the Pro Bowl.
Yeah, exactly. That's okay.
Yeah.
So that's why I heard this. I knew I heard it from somewhere, and I heard it from you. Yeah, it kind of fits his play style perfectly. So, I don't know. Maybe who knows what's going to happen? Or I kind of you said that it's unfair that he might think this is the ceiling. I would say it's not necessarily unfair because we saw this exact same scenario play out last year. Now, yes, it was attributed to an injury with him. His shoulder was hurting or something, or, he had to get surgery on that during the offseason. And, like, the team kind of, but it's just the same scenario where the team played really, really well throughout the first 75% of the season and
Yep.
just crumbled everywhere else. So, I don't know. We'll have to see what's going to happen with that, but we're going to keep our ear out for it, and we'll update you guys on this show if anything does happen. Let's talk about the Texans because we know they hired their head coach, and they stated yesterday that the Flores situation didn't affect the head coach hiring whatsoever. That feels like bullshit, man. That feels like I don't know about that. What are your thoughts on it, though?
Yeah, I don't. Brian Flores made the comment about how he's happy that there's a black head coach in the league with Lovie Smith. Like that's all he left it at. But if it really, I don't know. I thought that he would have been the right head coach there.
I would agree. The only reason why he wouldn't have been is I just would have seen a lot of turmoil with Watson.
Sure.
Because Flores would have wanted to kept Watson, and the team is kind of moving on from that. So that's the only thing I
Yep.
could see being a potential red flag. But that's not enough to not hire this guy. I mean, Flores is such a talented head coach. It blows my mind that he hasn't got a job yet. So it is what it is. Speaking of head coaches, Joe Judge, a guy who got fired from the Giants head coaching job after 2 years of failing in that position, now returns to the Patriots. He will become an offensive assistant, not even an offensive coordinator, if I'm reading this correctly, right?
That's right. That's right. He's
Yeah,
not going to be offensive coordinator. Offensive assistant's the title.
that's kind of insane. I understand why. He had a bad year with the Giants, 2 bad years with the Giants, but like, it feels like Josh McDaniels left. You at least give this guy the OC job. But they probably promote from within for that OC job.
You would, yeah. I mean, well, yeah. The Giants are a disaster. So
Yeah.
Bill Belichick was just like, "Come home, we'll take care of you."
Yeah, he really was. He definitely was in that regard. All right. Finally, some actual Super Bowl coverage. Let's talk about the 10 largest bets, according to ESPN, that have been placed for the Super Bowl this week. So fire away. Let's just list them off, and then we can talk about them all after.
For sure. I just saw this is basketball, so just really quick. Dennis Schroeder was up for returning to the Lakers as Russell Westbrook's backup before signing with Boston. The Lakers opted to use their mid-level exception money on Kendrick Nunn instead.
Ooh. And they announced yesterday that none isn't playing till March.
Yep, I saw that
Not
too.
not playing in March. He's playing after March. So like, that's rough, man. That is really rough.
Yeah. Okay. Super Bowl betting. There's 10 lists, or there's 2 lists. There's one for top 10 props by ticket and top 10 props by actual money. So Number one on the ticket list is Odell Beckham Jr. For first touchdown scorer, which I think is pretty solid at plus 750. The LA Rams first drive is a field goal attempt is the number two. That's plus 400. Cincinnati Bengals first drive field goal attempt plus 430. By the way, I'm one of my favorite bets of the entire Super Bowl weekend is Cincinnati Bengals over 1.5 field goals. I think that's money.
I like that.
Coin toss tails is number 4 in number of tickets bought. Coin toss heads is number 5 in number of tickets bought. Number 6, Evan McPherson over 1.5 made field goals. Jamar Chase first touchdown plus 675. Cooper Kupp first touchdown number 8 plus 390. That's actually crazy. But anyway, we'll move on.
No.
Bengals first drive is a touchdown plus 340 is number 9. And to round out the list, Joe Burrow over 11.5 rushing yards with that pass rush is minus 110 odds. So anything stick out to you?
I like that over 1.5 field goal bet that you were just talking about. I feel like that's really solid. I feel like there's definitely some interesting ones in there that I'm not necessarily agreeing with, but that's a very interesting list to have. Can you repeat what the number one bet was though again?
Yeah, this is by ticket. So number of tickets bought. Odell Beckham Jr.
Oh.
first touchdown scorer plus 750.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised a little bit. Plus 750, those are pretty big odds, so I understand it,
Yeah.
but very interesting. I don't know. Do you feel like that's worth a little sprinkle?
Oh, it certainly is. I would also consider Aaron Donald MVP as a top 10 ticket that you could get some interest in. It's not in the top 10, but that's what I would suggest. If you think the Rams win, if the Bengals win, obviously it's not going to be him. But if you think the Rams win, I think Aaron Donald's got as good of a shot as anybody on that Rams team to be MVP. As far as the top 10 props by handle, so money, we're talking just money here. We'll start with number 10 this time. Opening kickoff to be a touchback is no plus 100. I've seen a lot of stuff talked about this, and Pat McAfee, shout out to him and on that show. They have been adamant about this opening kickoff not being a touchback. And there's a few reasons why. One key reason is that there is a specific set of balls, like 6 or 7 of them, that are used just for kicking throughout the game. And they don't have very much time to actually break the ball in. They have about an hour and a half before the game where all the refs get to break the ball. The ref's job actually is to break the ball in, and they have the kickers on each side do the same thing for, like, again, an hour or so before the game. Now, with that being said, when you kick a ball that hasn't been used very much, it's not going to go as far as one that has a sweet spot on it. So
No.
they're more than likely to not make it to the end zone. So opening kickoff to be a touchback at no plus 100 makes a lot of sense, and getting even money on that is a tremendous way. It's a lot better than guessing a first touchdown, in my opinion,
Yeah.
because you can have so many things go wrong in that scenario. So if you want, I think that's even more reliable than a coin toss, because I think that it is leaning more towards like a 70-30% chance that ball's not going to make it to the end zone. So
No.
there was one more point that I had with that. Don't remember. Maybe I'll think of it when we're going through here. But
Uh-huh.
so I like the opening kickoff to not be a touchback. So that's something we can
Solid.
look at on Friday. Number 9, under Cam Akers, 64.5 rushing yards at plus 105. That one's interesting. I don't like to bet unders really ever, but Cam Akers has looked really, really rough through the playoff games, and they faced really, really good rush defenses. So it makes sense that he would struggle that much. They also gave Sonny Michel some run too. Number 8, Joe Burrow over 11.5 rushing yards is the 8th most on money. So Joe Burrow, that over rushing yards is getting a lot of tickets and a lot of money backing. Number 7, Odell Beckham first touchdown scorer is the 7th highest in terms of money. Number 6, Bengals first drive field goal attempt. Rams first drive field goal attempt is number 5. McPherson 1.5 field goals is number 4 on the money list, where he was number 6 on the ticket list. The coin toss is number 2 and 3 on the amount of money. Tails being number 2, heads being number 3, and number 1 kind of contrarian. And it's you can tell it's a money bet and not a ticket bet. Any guesses?
Oh, I have no clue.
Yeah, I
Um,
know it's a lot to choose from.
yeah, just give it to me. What is it?
Yeah, it's people betting on there not being overtime at minus 1,500. So
Yeah,
normally you
okay.
wouldn't put tickets on this, but obviously there will be people with big pockets putting like a couple $100,000 on this to win $100,000, right?
Yeah, what we have one overtime in Super Bowl history. Is that
I
right?
think so.
And that's
Yep.
the Falcons and
Atlanta,
Patriots game.
that's
Yep.
right.
Yeah. So I mean, one time in 56 games or 55 games. Probably not likely, but hey, those bets are always fun in games until you lose one, and then it really sucks. I talk about it with you when we talk about when in women's MMA, there's a really heavy favorite, and some
Yep.
people place $1,000 to win $100 on Amanda Nunez, and we saw how that went the last time Amanda Nunez fought. It doesn't go well a lot of the time. So hey, we'll have to see. It's definitely a. You're right. I should have got that. I should have at least guessed that as the bet, but yeah, that makes sense as the biggest money bet right now.
Yeah, I mean it's I would say this is more reliable than the coin toss, but it's also very sweaty given what both of these teams have done in the playoffs
Yeah,
because every game has gone down to the wire pretty much. What game hasn't? There's been no Bengals game that's been outside of like 3 points the entire postseason, and then every single Rams game. I don't because the
yeah,
Niners came back, so like I don't I don't know what to say.
yeah. No, I mean all these games have been close, so yeah, I could definitely see this one being a close one too. Um, it's going to be interesting to see. It's going to be very. That would really suck to see all those tickets lit on fire, but we'll just have to see. All right. Anything else for the NFL? If not, let's talk a little bit about college basketball.
No, we have some shaking up in the number 1 seed this week.
Yeah, number one, Auburn goes down to Arkansas. They went into OT for this game, and Arkansas ended up getting a huge win at home. They stormed the court. Not only did they storm the court, did you see the last play for Arkansas by chance?
I didn't.
Arkansas, the last play of the game, buzzer goes off, right? And there's a Arkansas player driving down the floor, and he absolutely slams a dunk. But not only does he slam a dunk with like zero, there's no time left at all. He also does it like basically puts his like he basically just absolutely posters this guy. And I mean like I saw it on TikTok and I saw comparisons to it being almost like a mid-air teabag essentially. It was a nasty dunk and the Auburn player was
Oh,
clearly
okay.
pissed off. Yeah, I'm sure you're
I
seeing
see
it
it.
now. Yeah, like the Auburn player looked like he was ready to fight the guy, and then they stormed the court, and he couldn't really catch up to him. But
Yep.
what a disrespectful play by Arkansas, man! I could not. If I was that Auburn kid, I would be so frustrated.
Yeah, they threw it down. Obviously, the right move is to throw it down, but the dude was like, you could have just dribbled it out. You would have been fine.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
yeah, he gets postered on the not even the dunk, but the comeback when he
Uh huh.
comes down from the rim, and you see the fireworks go off, and the fans are all over the place. This dude is just buried in these fans right now.
Yeah, it's insane, man. It was a
That's a
sight
bad
to
look.
see. Yeah, it's a very bad look. I don't know. I thought it was interesting, but yeah, this Auburn team has been so up and down since getting the 1 seed. I mean, feels like every day we say, "Oh, well, they were in a close game with a non-ranked team," and so it just
Yep.
felt like a matter of time before they ended up getting dethroned. The question is, who ends up taking the throne? I know there's a few competitors, but who's up next at the 2 and 3 and 4?
Well, I think the who did I say yesterday was the number 1 bracketology? I
Was it
think
Gonzaga?
I think it might have been Bama. Is that right? Does
Was
that
it
sound right?
Bama? No, it does not sound right.
Okay. Let me see here.
Bama was just in a super close game with I don't remember who.
Oh, Arizona, I believe, was the
There
team.
you go. Yeah, that sounds right. AP top 25 NCAA. Not football, basketball. I just wanted to see who's up next. Yeah, Gonzaga's the number 2, Purdue's the number 3, Arizona 4, Kentucky 5. So, um, Arizona 20-2 definitely has a shot there. Gonzaga definitely has a shot there. I think Purdue has a good shot too. They just had a good win, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, should be interesting to see what happens with that 1 seed. But we're gonna have a new number 1 next Monday, so that is
Yep.
something to look forward to indeed. All right. Wisconsin. It feels like every time we talk about the NCAA, you always bring up your Wisconsin team. Wisconsin ends up beating Michigan State on the road. I'm sure it was a game that was led by Johnny Davis.
I don't know, but we'll find out in a second.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
neither do I, man. I have no clue. I'm going to, I mean, like after that Duke loss, so Duke got upset yesterday by, or not yesterday, the day before yesterday by Virginia. After that, I kind of tuned out. I said, all right, done with college sports for the week.
Yep. Yeah, Johnny Davis put up 25, 6-3. So no surprise there, really.
No.
They lost to this Michigan State team just last week, so
Well,
it was a good win for them. And yeah, I mean, they're the Big Ten this year is very, very strong with Purdue obviously up top. And then there's kind of a gap, and you have Illinois, Wisconsin, Michigan State all in that next tier, in the teens there. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be, I think that this year is very nice because we've seen so many number 1 seeds just get destroyed. And Baylor, who, was kind of this juggernaut coming into the year, is now sitting at number 10. And I think it's just going to be one of those seasons where we just have no idea where things are going to shape out. Like we have Houston at number 6. They've won 12 in a row. Gonzaga's won 12 in a row. Kentucky comes out of, I don't know, they are a good squad, young squad. They're 20-4 now. So we'll see how it goes. But I think any team in the top 10 can take it this year.
yep, I tend to agree. It's gonna be a I don't think there's any like clear, clear top team quite yet,
Yeah,
and it's gonna be that makes for the best March Madness in my opinion because
it
you see a
does.
few of these top teams end up getting upset, because there's no like top dog. So, um, I don't know. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Once March Madness does come around, which is coming up sooner and sooner, man. I think we're like 3 weeks out from March Madness, so
Yep.
it's going to be a good time for sure. All right,
Yep.
um, let's end NCAA there. Let's get to our NHL blind dogs. Um, you won last night. Congratulations. Round of applause to you.
About time.
Yeah, about time. I lost pretty badly, according to Anthony. I don't know how badly is, but all I know is that I lost, and he said we don't talk about the Canadians or the Montreal Canadiens. So I'm
Oh,
gonna
yeah.
go.
We don't talk about
Yeah,
that.
yeah. I guess so. So go ahead, take your pick. Oh my gosh, we don't talk about that. Who do you want to take here for today's NHL blind dog?
All right. There are 6 games today. Pulling it up here because I clicked off of it earlier. Okay. Well, a Super Bowl update for you guys. Rams are still -4. Kind of interesting that that's still been sitting there. Okay. Hockey. All right. Let's go ahead and take the Vegas Golden Knights plus 118 over Calgary.
Nice. I'm solid. That's the team that I was gonna pick, but that's okay. I'm gonna take the Detroit Red Wings against the Flyers, and we'll see how that goes. Plus 100, so I hope I can cash one in. It feels like your cold streak rubbed off on me, and now I'm starting to develop a little bit of it here. So hopefully we can both get back on track and see how things go. That is it for the morning after show, though. Jared, any final thoughts?
No, not much. We have a few things dropping for the Super Bowl today. Again, friendly reminder that everything that we're doing is sponsored by betonline.ag for the Super Bowl. We have a Super Bowl Squares contest that's full at capacity right now. We also have a prop contest that's sponsored by BetOnline that's rolling out tomorrow. And we have a showdown contest that's also going to be going on with DraftKings. We have Super Bowl bingo. We have a Super Bowl drinking game. We have trivia. We have a Madden tournament. We have everything under the sun for you guys. So
No.
head to the Discord, look at the events, hit the interested thing, and you'll get notifications for when those things get announced. So it's Wednesday, and it feels like the week is already finished twice in both Josh and I's world, but we still got 4 or 5 more days left in it.
I don't want it to be 4 or 5 more days. Hopefully, this is the start to my weekend. I have a feeling I'm going to be doing a lot of work today, so should be a good time. But thank you all for tuning in. We greatly appreciate it. No stream tomorrow, but we'll be back on Friday to go over everything that happened on Thursday in my return back to, or on my technical Monday on Friday. So it'll be a good time. Make sure to join us then. As always, my name is Joshua Reimer. Good morning and good skill.